Hi, this is Tina, and welcome to another episode of Joyful Connections. And here I am with one of my regular guests on our Joyful Connections episode, Nalini from Chalice of Wisdom and Field Tuning. Welcome back, Nalini.
Thank you, Tina. It's good to be here.
Yay. I was thinking that would be really great if you could share a little bit of an update as to what is going on with the energies here in August, because I think one of the things that I've just noticed is that a lot of people are speaking about very similar things, very similar topics that have been spoken about for eons. And it may seem as if people are talking about the same things, such as manifesting and all of that. But there is a very different feel to the energy behind the words. And I'm wondering whether people are actually picking up on that, or whether it's creating this sense of, oh, it's just more of the same. So I'm really curious if that ties in with the energy for where we are.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. August is an interesting month this year. It's where new things are being woven together. Old patterns are dissolving, whether it looks like it or not. And that's one of the big themes, is to not trust appearances, not trust what your eyes are showing you, but trust your feelings and trust what really is coming through. And that's been said forever. I mean, I get this a lot with people who sit with me or come to my gatherings and things. It's like, oh, but I've heard that for years. Oh, every avatar in every cycle has said the same things. Well, yes, because they're true. But there's something different happening in the new cycle, which is that where these truths were sort of, one could call them options in the other cycles. They were an available path, and one could choose otherwise. They are the available path that will actually work, that will function, that will further evolution in the biggest way, in the best way going forward. And the other options either won't work at all or won't work so well. So that's the major difference. And also the things that everyone's hearing that have been said forever, they really have. The deeper truth behind them is still true, but they're coming from a deeper well. They're coming from a different place now. They are sourced from a different place in source, you could say. Is there a different place in source? I mean, once you can start using words, the semantics really get in the way. But things are coming from a much deeper place now. And for this month, this is the first month, or the first sort of time period, with Lunasa, with the big explosion of the fire energy that hooks right into source, the cross-border energies that moves then into the equinox in September, whether it's autumnal or vernal, depending on your part of the world. It's not a plateau. Some people look at it that way, like a sort of smooth place or a level place. If you're talking about locks in a river that, let the water go up or down, it's not that actually. It's a transition place this time, where we're all moving out of any way where we have been identified within ourselves as a solo artist, like anyway, like the lone stranger, or the whole going it alone and that's safer, or which, please, if anyone's ever alone, show me. But, it's moving out of that identification, or any way we've done that. Mostly we've done those things in order to learn this concept, and it is a concept called self-reliance. And the problem is that what happens with most people, they think, yes, I had that one really large, except mine was capital self-reliance. But, as a child, my favorite Simon and Garfunkel song was I Am a Rock, and which cracks me up. It completely puts me into spasms of laughter, right? I'm an island and a rock feels no pain and an island never cries. Thank you, Simon and Garfunkel, but please. Do we think islands don't cry with everything that's going on in the world right now? I don't think so. But, but any of those things, or you'll notice, people in a group where they're cooperating, or they believe they are, or there's a faction, which is really more how humans have interacted, because they haven't learned by and large. I mean, somehow they haven't learned by and large to cooperate but it's a bunch of solo artists deciding to come together for some kind of purpose. That dynamic is shifting. So if you think of that, like if you think of the cells in your body that develop out of a single cell, and then they turn into different functions, they turn into organs and glands and nerves and systems. There's a collaboration there, and that's different from cooperation. It's a collaboration where they don't merge and blend. As an individuated being, we don't exactly do that except with source. We can't do it with another being. We can only do it with the source, or the source in another being. It's actually a little bit technical, but that's true. So when we say we're all one, yes, within source, within the infinite field. What's happening right now, juncture, the energy sort of update is that anything that is merged or bound together, I would use the bound word, in the old ways is coming apart. And it's meant to do that because those bindings, that type of bonding or merging will not function in these higher octaves of light. It simply won't function. It will dissolve anyway. It won't know how to hold itself. So it's actually a gift that all these things apart. And for a lot of us, some of the things that are coming apart have needed to for a long time in this world. So yay, and it tends to throw people into fear. Like, oh, well, if this is all about cooperation and collaboration, the opposite is happening in the world. Just look at the news. Well, I would advocate not looking at the news unless you feel to, because why would you put that in your consciousness, really? I mean, what you think about, how you perceive things determines your reality. So if you're holding negative, this is something that every spiritual master, every avatar has taught forever. If you hold negative thoughts and emotions in your body, you will have negative manifestations. There are equal signs there. It's just how it works. Those manifestations are going to be less able to come about in this new cycle in August. This time right now is a pivotal turning point, one of them. In that, where if you collaborate, if you do the banding together, not the merging, not the negative merging, which is what people tend to do. It's like, oh, my neurosis likes your neurosis, let's merge. No. It's not going to work anymore. It's not. I mean, it might feel familiar and more comfortable at first, and then it will become instantly really uncomfortable. You will know, there's something wrong here. This feels like quicksand or toxic, or because it is, and it's no one's fault. So step one, don't blame. Step two, which is easy to do. Step two, take a deep breath and just let it dissolve into the field, because this is about collaboration and doing it through the field. No one can go it alone right now. No one's ever been alone, and we're about to learn that in a really big way. Like, you must have the collaboration, not of like-minded, because our minds were all trained in the old cycle, and they're, nice tools for driving a car or going to the market, but really, it's like vibration, like resonance. The collaboration of that is what's coming. The weaving of that is what's beginning during this time period. And we're actually getting helped by our lovely friend Mars, who around the 20-somethings, or there are some alignments where there's going to be a huge push, just because of some of the other planetary alignments. There's going to be a huge push in what has been called aggressive energy, or outward moving energy. And we all know what that can do. So if around this time you're feeling a little more irritation or anxiety or even anger or rage or outrage, I would go for outrage before any of the others, but still, that needs to vent, and not onto something or someone else. It simply needs to vent like a steam whistle. So find an outlet, a physical one, find a way to pump that energy out of your bodies, because that's what's happening right now. This trigger is affording us an opportunity to pump the stored rage, the stored anger and irritation and anxiety, where things haven't quite matched up with our vibration ever. And we've really been upset about that for a long time, only we've been taught to push that down. Well, the lid's off. That's what's happening, is the lid's off and the box is open, and all of that has to come out. But it can just simply be safely vented and worked out without being acted out. That's part of what's going on for this time period. So sometimes the energies will feel really heavy and weird, wonky, and it can feel that way too. And if you're feeling that, it would be a time to, get quiet, breathe, get in some water. The most efficient balancer for fire is water. Earth works too, air not so much, but but they all bring that into harmony. Find some way to be around water, in water, drink a little more water, think about your hydration, but also not just that, don't just depend on that. Those are things that help your physical body out and your emotional body, but to let these more, what we would call aggressive energies, move through instead of out into some kind of action. And if you want to use them, because they are available to be utilized, use it to push something forward. Use it to push a creation forward. This is where the energy is meant to go. We are meant to sort of point the hose, as it were, and say, I would this is where I would like my creation energy to go. And then let go of the how, let go of the details, because we never really make those happen anyway. And what we're guided to take. And, the steps have been outlined forever by everyone for how to do this is relax, you let go, you let yourself be absorbed in the field. That's been called all kinds of things, sitting in the lap of the Divine Mother, sitting on the hand of God, whatever works for you, right? Just absorb into that, spend as much time there as you can. The whole beingness, the whole embodiment of what used to be called, or I guess still is, enlightenment, is just walking that field all the time. And there's this prevalent belief system on the bipeds on this planet that, well, you can't do that and it's hard. It's not. You spend so much more energy in all the other stuff, in the denial and the anger and the bargaining and everything else, that if you took all of that and let it dissolve into the field, you walk that all the time. And then you come to a place where you only, and this is the really tough part, especially for all you A-types out there, you only take the action steps that you're guided to take. You listen to the intuition, you move the way the field tells you, and you say what is meant to come through you. You take the action steps, because this is not a couch potato kind of a time. You take the action steps, you make the motions, you do the diligence of whatever needs to be done, but you do it from that place. Because right now we're moving into one of the pivotal transition points this August where nothing else will work. You try to do it the other way, you just watch yourself start to push a boulder uphill again, or watch the energy flatline out of it. It must come from this other place. That's what will work. So the energy right now, and this Mars trigger that we're about to have, it's in conjunction with some other planets, but it's just going to say, okay, those energies, those creative energies, are going to get a big push in the personal physical world, your physical life. But we all know it has to come from the inside first. So if you let the field take over right now, collaborate with the field, collaborate with source, it will bring the other collaborations from that place into your life and your expression. And this month is a really pivotal point for just stepping into that, and don't ever step back out. Just let it take you, let the current take you, see what happens. Yeah, really exciting. Fun.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And it kind of reminds me of being an opportunity to tap into what lights your fire. So if you're playing with that fire engine, go inside and find out what lights you up, collaborate with the source energy flowing through and then letting that connect you with others who have also discovered what lights their fire. And from that place, you can collaborate from a place that's really like a synergy, rather than the old way.
Yes, the old ways just aren't going to work. Whatever they're just not going to work. And that's a really tough one right now for everyone, because the mind tends to dictate until you stop letting it, but everyone's minds were trained to know how to do something and to do it that way. I've had so many people over the years say to me, well, but this is how I know how to do this. And you say, well, yeah, that's right. Nothing wrong with that. You're not wrong. It's just that there's a new way now, and pretend you're an infant and you need to learn again, because that's really what this is like. Only you're not doing it in a vacuum. You're not doing it as a solo artist. You're not out there on the trapeze by yourself, not knowing whether there'll be someone else to catch you. You're there with source as your net to say, I have this field, and let that allow source to bring you exactly what you need, the collaborators, the opportunities, the synchronicities, because they are there. Most people just blow past them all the time because, oh, well, that won't work. And well, what I want is A, B, C, D up to Z of how this is going to work. It's not going to happen ever again in this incarnation. Get over it. Really, it's just not. It's like you're going to get a breadcrumb or a step or 6 of them in different directions. And then people's minds go, oh, which one do I take? Take them all. You have infinite energy bodies, take them all. Or do your intuitive decision-making process and feel, don't think. Like which one feels best? Take that one. And then the other ones might just line up. You never know. Or they might dance about and they might come back later. Or if you ignore the moment long enough, a whole other set of opportunities will present itself. It's like your GPS system, your sat nav, right?
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a different route. Because
Yeah.
no longer available. You know?
Rerouting.
You turn at your earliest convenience, you know. Or you can reset and, you know, go a different way. And that's what's happening. It's a major reset. So go a different way, walk a new way. Go to a new way, do it from this place.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So spending time in nature is obviously always just such an amazing way to quickly drop back in.
Nature has this down. So you're already in the vibration.
Mm-hmm. And so what about, would you say that more and more people are finding that they're being called to maybe shift location, or that even by shifting locations, you know, that you're finding that even being somewhere for a very short period of time and moving to these different locations is exactly what best supports the shifting and the integration of the new energies?
Yes, because things are so turbulent right now that I know that terrorizes and terrifies some people. They say, oh, I'm going to have to move around all the time. Well, I can tell you that in the last 10 years, I moved house 9 times. And it wasn't awful. I can't say that I was absolutely in love with the process at every minute. But because, you know, moving house is just inconvenient, let's put it that way. But really, it's what's happening right now. Does everyone need to do that? No, not necessarily. I mean, that will be circumstantial for everyone. But there are these major shifts where there may be somewhere else in your neighborhood, or there may be somewhere you could just visit on a regular basis in nature, or a favorite place, or there may be other places or another place in the world or locally that will work better for your energy in a given time frame. And if you let yourself be guided by source, you don't have to figure that out. So this is the thing. Everyone freaks out, stresses out because, oh, I have to figure this out. You can't. Let's just be very clear about that. You cannot figure this out mentally. So if you feel in it and let source guide you, then yes, you will be moved here, there, here, there. And if you allow that process, you know, find yourself a good storage unit or not, better to, it doesn't have to be that, you know, really, it was that for me for lots of reasons, for putting my body in certain locations, but it's a shifting in perception that needs to happen. The quickest way, one of the quickest ways to shift your perception is to go to a different place, move to a different place. Even if it's just a walk or a run or a drive somewhere, because it shifts your perspective. Shift in perspective, shifts perception. It's quick. The mind understands that, so your mind will comply faster. It's not necessary. You know, I can do that sitting still. You can do that sitting still. Yeah. So, but it's one of those things. So yeah, one of the things about moving around or shifting things, or the in transition thing, like I saw something on someone's website yesterday, like, are you in transition? I'm like, who isn't? That was a big question. You know, everyone's in transition right now.
Yeah.
Big question for, you know, that framework, but yeah, everyone's in transition. So if you think about that, like if you thought about the time between secondary school and university, if you did that, or the time between that period of your life and maybe your first job, or your time between jobs or something like that, think about those times, and think about, if you're going to think, because, you know, your mind's going to try anyway, think about the things that were fun about that. That actually helps. Like what was fun about that? And part of it was not knowing what you were going to do tomorrow. Now, some of you will say, oh, I'm going to my job tomorrow. I know what I'm going to do. You know that you're going to go to your job tomorrow, but you don't know what you're going to do all day. See, there's a way you can tweak it. to let yourself be more in the flow, be more in the infinite field, be more in source, even while you're going and punching a clock or whatever it is that you're doing. There's a way to start shifting it, and then your experience will shift along with that. But yeah, everything's in transition. I mean, most people honestly are going to be in a very different place, whether it's purely psychically, energetically, or for many, many, many people physically. By 2020, certainly people just will be someplace different, new, even if it's just down the block, or even if they've just redesigned their house. I mean, it'll be a little bit different for everyone, I mean, if you own a ranch somewhere, you're not going to round up all your livestock and herd them to somewhere else on the planet. This is, not practical, But there are shifts in everyone that's happening for everyone energetically. And this month, this is one of the pivotal points for that, where, not, it's going to happen now, but there will be steps that you can take, that you are being shown right now, that will shift your perception and your energy into something more resonant for you. If it starts to feel more resonant for someone else and not for you, it isn't right.
Yeah.
It isn't right. Okay. Oh, what about the highest good for all concerned? Well, what about that? Do you know what that is? Source knows what that is. Do you? No. So while it was a good idea, and I'm not, it's a better concept than some of the others, but it's really moving more into letting source guide everything. I'm being guided, the other is being guided. If we're not being guided together for right now, then that's okay. Accept, acknowledge, let yourself be moved, see what happens. And then the collaborations that will work in the moment will show up if you have to make the room for them. If you're holding on to something that doesn't work, the thing that will work has room to come in the door? Not really.
Yeah. Yeah, so this would be a really good month then to maybe just have a look to see, okay, where do things seem to be stagnating and where things seem to suck, so where am I holding on? And then be willing to just let that fire just transform that and ignite, launch new rockets.
Yeah, well, thing to do with things like that, like we're so trained to look for the problem, we have to lose that training. So it's not to denial is different than acknowledgement, okay? Denial is where you say, I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist. Well, we know what that's done. Okay, but what you do is say, oh, okay, that seems to be non-optimal. That seems to be not working. Acknowledge and leave it at the doorstep, of your inner sanctum, and then let yourself be dissolved into source and see what happens. But don't focus on that. If you keep focusing on that, you're going to keep dragging it along with you. You've just sent out an engraved invitation for it to accompany you on your journey. If you focus on what works, focus on the joy, then that will change everything. And you'll move to the place where the issue ceases to exist. It's really simple. It's not that it fixes, you can't solve a problem, really. It has to change. Your life has to change. That's sort of what they were there for in the last cycle, was to show us that this might not be working for you. You might need to do something differently. But in this cycle, it's really just leave it behind.
It feels like a big shift is like that old training of like realizing that, we need a challenge to grow, and realizing, wow, you can grow as efficiently, probably more efficiently, when you choose to grow through what is joyful and what is fun and what is inspiring. And yet perhaps this is a good space to let any of the, it sounds like an addiction to having operated that way, right? To let that be cleared and released. And
absolutely, it's a pattern, it's a belief system, it's an agreement, it's a habit, it's an addiction, it's an obsession, because our minds were trained that way. And they say, don't take that away from me because I won't know what to do. It's like, oh, I won't know what to do. Interesting. That's your ego talking. Okay.
Yeah.
You never did know what to do. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this time right now with this transition, it's such an opportunity to just let the joy bubble through, let what lights you up bubble through, let the light bubble through, and let that, if you're in that, if you move from that place, then your experience will shift. It just does. It's technical. It's how it functions. It's how the light works. And so the light is the information quotient of the love field. It is information. So if you're in that information, how could you actually take a wrong step? You know, your sat nav, your GPS will course correct for you, so that it's like, oh, I don't want to take any step because that's a wrong one. Well, we all know what happens when you do that. If you do not make a decision, you are asking for things to stay the same. That happens to be true. Pop psychology, though it may be, it's actually a spiritual law, you know. So it's like, you know, make a choice and then let go. And that's the part where everybody gets stuck. It's like, make a choice. To really be clear on, oh, that essence, that vibration, that lights me up, without the details. This feeling, and then let go. And we're so used to pursuing and seeking and holding on and climbing the mountain that just feels completely counterintuitive, but it's not.
Yeah, so that may also really be interesting to just observe for how many, maybe this is the energy that's supporting us to really connect in, to be shown what is uplifting, what is fun, what does feel really good. Because oftentimes when asking people, well, what is it that you really, really, really want? What is it that you long to experience? What do you long to feel? It's like, well, not that, and that. But then not being comfortable almost as if it's like not having been used to being able to speak out about what would feel so good, as if you would jinx it.
Yes, exactly. Or just simply the not knowing. And even when we do know, or we think we know, sometimes because we're in transition right now, those things might not still be true. Yeah. Something that, like an activity, for example, that might have been really enjoyable for you. You might go do it and it falls flat, or you think, oh, well, see, this doesn't work. It's not that this doesn't work. It's that no longer works for you. It's like, don't let the mind generalize and say, oh, well, you know, I tried it and it didn't work. It's like, yeah, your ego would love for you to believe that. But no, it's really, try something else, try something new. And really what you just said about the feeling, the essence, the joy, feel that. It's like, that's what everyone wants to feel. And that's what you feel when you're absorbed in source. And you can feel that doing anything. You can feel that brushing your teeth. You can feel that hammering a nail. You can feel that, you know, it's just, and then it shifts everything into more and more and more of that until everything begins to become that. And then you really notice when something's out of sync. And you just go, oh, let's fill that up with the field and shift it.
Great.
Not shift the thing, because you can't shift the thing. It doesn't work. The thing is the thing, and you can't shift it. So what you do is you shift you, right? And then the thing usually disappears or isn't a problem anymore, or whatever, you know, whatever form source decides to use to solve it. It goes boop. Yeah.
Beautiful. So leading into then the solstice and no, where are we at? We get mixed up, solstice, equinox, yeah. The energy coming up, and there's some eclipses and everything happening. So it feels like it's a very action-packed time that we're in, that's wrapping up lots of cycles of many, many, many different areas, if you like.
Yeah.
Well, for what?
Well, it's interesting because the larger cycle, the cosmic cycle, has already shifted, but then some people call it fallout or whatever, but then there are all of the cycles that are for our individual beings. You know, we are a cosmic event, and each of us. And so our cycles are shifting and changing, and it's a little bit like, you know, the camera shutter, if you actually know how that works. There's always an eclipse cycle around the equinox, spring and fall. And the eclipse actually brings to light that which has been hidden. It's odd. It's like you think, well, it's covering part of the light. Well, that means that you can actually see. Like things that the light would shine too brightly, it would blind you to, you can actually see. So it's an opportunity. You can use each of those windows to perceive, just to open your perception. The way to not do it is to say, well, I want to see this. Like, okay, well, if that is optimal, then you will. If that's not exactly what's presenting or from source or what's available at the moment, you won't. So, you know, there's threshold for disappointment there. But if you allow, if you open, these are openings from source. It's like this beginning of this new cycle is always look for the openings. Where are the openings into and through source for you? Because they're unique to each of us. And we're each precious and unique. And it's looking for those unique openings and not letting the ego take a hold of that unique thing, but like, yeah, they are different and particular to each of us, and look for that opening. So the eclipse windows, the equinox, these, it's like camera shutters. It's like blinking, or a strobe blinking on, this will close for you and something else just opened, and this will close and something open, and this will close and something open. Don't focus so much on the closures. You'll know what they are for you, for your cycles, each of you personally, but focus on the opening. Like, what's this available? It's like, oh, that went, what's there? Oh, that, what's there? Oh, that, what's there? It's more that, like, let's jump for joy, go for the joy, go take that leap, because that's what's being made available. And so, yeah, there's a time where we're weaving into a need for collaboration through the source energy. And then there'll be these little closures of things that just have ended and need to end for each of us and for some of our cooperative and collaborative efforts, just because the time for it is done. It's not, didn't fail if it wasn't finished. A lot of people have the I dotting T crossing thing as an obsession, so I can get that. Yeah. But it's no, it doesn't matter. There's a dust bunny in that corner. Let source take care of it. Walk out of the room. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean we leave a mess on the planet. The mental habits of a lot of people are, well, no, that means we've left this huge mess. No, it means if you leave it behind in energy, you're creating something new. This is all about the creative flow and where we point the creative flow and how we move through the openings into that. The dissolution will happen if we focus on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Woo. Exciting times to be here. Wow. Okay. So as far as wrapping up this energy for August, if we look at the overview, are there any maybe quick tips that you would share for those watching and listening to maybe create some new habits that support being in this energy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of them is if you feel that fire energy, if it pushes you, because it has that push where it can go to irritation, anxiety, anger, frustration, whatever. If you start to feel that, consciously make the conscious choice to shift that into, well, what can I move forward? Instead, what can I move forward? What could that energy move forward right now? It could be something really simple as going to get a glass of water. But, yeah. What can that move forward right now? It could be a big project, shifting it consciously, shifting the energy. And if you do find yourself that, like you wake up in the morning, your body's already in that, go put yourself in some water, or outside in nature, and just let it all dissolve off of you. And then really look for, well, what's the opening? Because if I'm being hit with, if I'm experiencing, I should really say, that push of energy, there's an opportunity there. What's the opportunity? So looking for the opportunity opening instead of, and not the opportunity to go bash someone over the head because you're feeling like it. It's like, no, that would be inappropriate venting. But what can I use what can this energy move? And then it shifts your channeling habit into, oh, the body will channel something differently. And try and if you start to feel the old habit, and this is so prevalent among spiritual types, is that, you start to feel those feelings and you know you're feeling them. You go, no, big lid, I don't feel those things. It's inappropriate to feel those things. It's like, and you are a volcano waiting to blow. Mm-hmm. So let it move through you. It will move so quickly if you do that. And just find an appropriate channel for it. Go for a run or go out or go. When I was working a lot of that stuff out of my body, I had a big kicking bag up on my deck, and one of those wiffle bats, the hollow ones they use for children. It made the most lovely smack, and it couldn't have hurt a fly because harmless materials. Although I did squash it flat one morning, and my neighbor almost fell out of her apple tree. I didn't realize she was up there picking them. Like, hello, I'm your neighbor this morning. It's like breath work, venting, huh? I'm like, it's those things, like just give that stuff a place to vent, but then rechannel it. That's the best thing you can do this month. And then don't expect like the solution to your problem to show up. That's one of the things, like lose that expectation, because the solution is to be different. And if your mind starts thinking about that, you'll just make yourself crazy. So it's like, no, just rechannel the energy and then let it go and focus on what is going to work. Because there's a lot of support for that right now.
Great. Well, thank you, Nalini. Well, here we are with our overview for August 2016. I'll just say, gosh, go forth. Let joy be your guide to a life that is worth waking up for every day. And I like to say, be in joyful anticipation. You know, it's almost like a kid before Christmas morning and wondering, oh, I wonder what gifts are showing up there. And when you go about your days like that, it becomes this fun adventure and where anything is possible, right? Yeah. So thank you for everyone watching and listening to us here. And until we meet again, many joyful blessings. And thank you for being here, Nalini. And I look forward to the next time.
Me too. Thank you.
Bye.